Hi guys, today we're exploring an exciting topic, and namely social live streaming and the use of video for your brand. My interview today is an e-commerce entrepreneur, an international speaker, and the founder of Sugarista New School and London Sugary Company. Welcome, Stephanie King. This all is brought to you by myself, Nadya, at STEPP-Digital. Thank you for listening. Going to be just a couple of questions because obviously the first thing that I'm really thrilled about what you do is you're into clean beauty, right? And
Yes.
years back when I've set up my blog on fashion, sustainable fashion, that was also around sustainability, the clean side of sourcing the materials and the fabrics and all that. And when it comes to beauty, that's probably even more so visually powerful, because obviously there's the tale about ingredients, the tale about the skill set, and in particular in your case, when the training comes along and you are an international conference speaker, a trainer, and you've got a school as well to take care about. So please let us know a little bit in a couple of words, what does it take to be a business owner like you? What do you enjoy
A
most
sense
about?
of insanity. No, I have been in sugaring now for 13 years. And when I first kind of discovered what it was, I was obviously not the first person in the US to do it, but I was one of the first kind of handful of people to do it. And it's just kind of, okay, pun intended, just really stuck with me. I've not been able to shake it because I've always felt this sense of huge possibility around it for so many reasons, that it is cleaner and greener. It's a lot more gentle on the skin. And it's a traditional technique, so it has a really rich and interesting history to it. So I've always had this sense that it's going to make it big. And I think when I left the US about 5 years ago, it was having its moment, and I was really happy. I felt like it was gaining traction, and you could go and get sugared in almost every major city, and it had come a really, really long way. So I think when I moved here, I sort of knew what I was getting myself into, that I was getting into a space in beauty that was run by much larger brands, it was maybe a little bit early to the market. The conversation around clean beauty, ecology, reduction of consumable waste, and that kind of stuff was still really early. But I think because I'm American and because I've watched clean beauty and sugaring just explode there, I knew it would happen here if I could just hang in there long enough and get the message out. So that's really what has been my primary focus for the last 4 years, is really just educating people and getting them to understand what it is. And I think now, right before we had COVID lockdown, I was really hitting my stride, and things were ticking up really, really fast. And so that was quite an abrupt stop, which caused me a fair amount of nervousness around, like, will we come back? But now we're reopening and it's just as busy as ever. So I think I have stayed in this long just out of pure belief. I just know it has huge potential. And I kind of jokingly say I have to finish what I started. So I can't leave sugaring until I see it kind of at least begin to reach its potential here. Then I am an entrepreneur by heart, so who knows what I'll get my hands into after that. But I still think we have a few more years to see that happen. So just been very tenacious in pursuing this goal.
Oh, absolutely. And, from the moment that we've met, when was it? About September time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So a year back. I remember we've been discussing, and immediately, the passion that you got through for your business kind of comes through. It breaks through the conversation straight after. No, honestly, and I think that at the time we just touched upon the discussing about all things social, about video on the side. When do you think you've got a little bit more into video? Because obviously since then you've appeared more often on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to do a lot more. So Instagram stories, doing video in there, I have found to be the easiest thing ever to do, because you just jump on and you start talking. And of course, if you don't look that great that day, you can put a subtle filter
Yes.
on it and minimize the video a little bit. And I've gotten a lot of people reaching out to me being like, oh, I love what you're doing in the stories. And I'm like, I'm not really doing anything. I just find something to talk about and pop it up on the stories. But I think as I've done that a lot more, I've gotten more comfortable. And I also have seen everything go from being so perfectly curated and, you know, to much more like real on the go, less edited type of video that I've felt bolder, like, you know what, I don't have makeup. I did something yesterday just to let people know we had something new on the website, and I had no makeup on. I had a trucker hat. I looked terrible, but I thought I'll just put it out there, and I'm getting a lot of engagement from those little videos. Yeah. But now we started doing, so that has pushed me now to feel a bit more confident in doing more lives and knowing that I'll be able to figure out what I want to say once I get on the camera. But certainly video now, what's coming next for my business hinges almost 100% on video, because we have to teach and explain and demonstrate. So yeah, it's probably what will be once I get the last few things kind of shifted off my plate here in the business, my product distribution. That's probably what I'll be doing most days is video.
Awesome.
I'll put makeup on every day.
Well, see, that's what I decided to do today, although probably I should have gone through and done no makeup to start with from the first stance as well. Because, you know, I get your point around authenticity and the fact that, you know, you just do it, as the famous Nike slogan says. But you know, it's a decision that you probably don't necessarily put too much time. You just know that, or have a belief in that it's going to work, because you have loads of stories to tell about the brand, and you know, you've got the content to put out there for people.
Yeah, it's certainly when I've been doing live interviews of some of my educators, and we've been trying to get those more in the swing of things. And I think as we get ready to kind of relaunch more online, we're going to be doing a lot more interviews with sugars. And every time I do one of those, I will get at least 1 or 2 students that book off the back of it, who are people I've not had to do a sales call with. They've watched the video and they're asking questions on there. It's almost unbelievable. We're like, wait, you just watched my live video and you want a book? Okay. Like, well, I've been overcomplicating this for years. I should just do these live videos more. So there's certainly, I can see the value in it.
Awesome. And just looking back a little bit from the moment that you started them first, what did you feel was probably the most complex thing and then the most easiest thing when doing or preparing for lives?
I think initially I was just overthinking and trying to have everything really planned out. And, you know, I normally have an office space that I work out of that, you know, I'm working from my home now. Of course, I'm in my spare bedroom. I don't, you know, it's like not loving your background and those types of things where like, I can only do a video if I'm in like a perfectly lit room and I have to have this series of questions. Well, after a while, I just, especially with my son home all the time, I was just like, listen, the video is going to get done or it's not going to get done. And so I found then when I was going more off the cuff and just having fun, engaging conversations, it was so much easier and actually way more interesting content than like, okay, question 7, you know.
Yeah, not even monitoring the questions that I've got on the list, not at all, just engaging really in the conversation.
Yeah. So I think those videos are really so much about having conversations and just letting people get to see your personality, and also the whole component of people getting to ask questions. And we have received questions on lives where I'm just like, oh, that's a good question. That's like a whole nother live in itself, or really technical, specific kind of questions. And so a lot of the people we get coming on the lives now, they're people who are curious about sugaring. They're not actual sugarers. And then we get sugarers coming on there asking like, how do you do this specific thing? So it reminds me how many different ways I can really be utilizing it for the different people I'm talking to. And I prefer video over writing. any day. So it's just so much
Much
easier for me.
easier, just faster
Yeah.
to get through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And then just curious about, obviously everyone, as you said yourself just now minutes ago, is when you're overthinking about it, when you're trying to make it all perfect, you're thinking about, oh, where's the best practice about that? Has it been written anywhere? You know, is there some form of guidance that I can take a look into even before I would start things like that? Did you take a look into some of the best practices before doing any of these, or was it just a matter of letting the flow?
No, I didn't. And you know what I think gave me permission to just do it randomly is because when we'd not had this COVID situation where everyone was at home,
Yeah.
I would have never done videos at my house. You know,
Yeah.
I think because I was watching every day, all day, I was on imperfect Zooms and watching people's lives in the background with their kids. And like, it was this more real life. And I thought, you know what, it's not the end of the world. I mean, the number of Zoom calls I've ran where my husband has like come in, you know, and our 3-year-old's like going crazy. And, you know, a few times he's come in and not had a shirt, on. I'm like, I'm on a call right now. But, you know, so I think I look forward to having a more curated space that's back outside of my house so I can have more professional space to do videos in. But I think because of COVID, it's kind of like, hey, it's a free for all. We'll just do the best we can do with what we've got and put your ring light up and just call it a day. So if there were, but I am somebody who likes to learn though. So,
Exactly.
you know, if there's trends and things that are really shaping what's coming next for that, I'm 100% the type of person that would read that stuff and would want to do it the right way.
So it sounds like from what you're saying, basically during this lockdown period, it's got many of us probably a little bit more of a courage into doing these things, because obviously a lot of people are in the same situation. Well, actually, everyone is in the same situation. It's more of a case who's got the courage to do it, right? So it's just wondering, when it comes to the transition mode, which you're definitely sound to be in now, when you're saying, oh, when it comes to the future, I'm going to read about how to make it a little bit more perfect and, I don't know, try to get a specific setting for it for the business. Would there be any particular sources that, just for the sake of everyone who's going to be watching later, would there be any particular go-tos that you for yourself is going to look into for some guidance? Obviously, aside from
I think for me, I just kind of always look and see what are other people in my space doing. So, you know, I mean, certainly experts like yourself, I'm always curious to see what are the trends and kind of what is the, as you say, what are the best practices. But for the most part, I kind of just take cues from what I see on social media and go, okay, well, these people are doing it this way, so I'll give that a shot. I moved out of my office space a month ago, and I'm now kind of in pursuit because I'm moving all my distribution into a warehouse now. So I'm going to be free of all my product for the first time ever. So I'm going tomorrow I've been touring all the co-working spaces in Brighton. I'm like, I'm going to find the perfect space because this is how I spend all day long, is either on Zoom meetings, on social media, or on calls. So I'm trying to figure out where I can tuck myself away outside of the house and be on the phone all day. I'm not someone you want to sit at a hot desk with. I'm like, super loud American.
That's exactly going to be the topic of my other question. You might have seen the photo that I've shared with you around the Chinese use of streaming. I was so amazed to find out about that, because apparently the government in China gives some level of support to e-commerce brands to be able to teach them and get the know-how from a bit more of a wider space, so they know how to best do it. But they do it at scale, and that amazed me.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. I mean, you've seen the picture. I'm going to post it.
I have.
See.
Yeah.
Do you see this taking out this similar levels in the UK and in Europe in general?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I certainly think that, I mean, when I go on my Instagram or my Facebook, and I've got way too many Instagram pages, but there are always tons and tons and tons of lives going on. Even just right before we got on the call, I flipped through just to see like who's live right now, and like professional beauty. So we were supposed to have our big trade show in March, and that got postponed, and they really pivoted to doing, I think it was a 1 week they were going to do live interviews. And that was like, I don't know how many weeks ago, and they're still going live almost every single day. And I've watched a ton of those. And even just in the stories, you see now the whole first banner of your stories, you've got to scroll all the way over once or twice to just get out of who is live on there now. So I think lives, absolutely. I think from a product perspective, it's really smart. It's something I could absolutely utilize, because we have the component of having to teach how to use our products. And there's showing and teaching people who are just curious. And then there's also the whole other bit of showing and teaching people who are actually taking training with us. And I shot a professional course. So I worked with a video team, and we filmed 8 module in a studio,
Awesome.
perfect, very, very professional. And it needs some supplementary materials to go along with it. And I've been talking to the woman who directed it and did the video for me. And I explained to her, we want to do a full certification now. The time is now. We can't really wait another year. There's sugars all over the world that want training, and we don't have anything to offer them. And so she and I went and did our socially distanced beach walk. And she said, honestly, like there's 100 ways you can do this with one of those, I can't think of what they're called, the kind of swivelly tripod for your phone. And she said, and you could think about, doing live stream. And I was just like, I don't know why that's so simple, but it never really occurred to me. So my US counterpart and I are kind of crafting and trying to figure out how we can even just do live streaming when we're actually teaching the courses in the classroom. And that won't substitute that highly technical, professional, close-in video that we need to give, but it will let students feel like they're there. It makes perfect sense. It's actually the most simple thing. I just don't know why it never really occurred to any of us. We were like, wait, we'll just video actual class. There's a concept. So I don't know what that will look like, but we're definitely going to experiment with it and
like you
see
say,
what happens.
It's going to give the opportunity to people to just tune in and feel that they're there. And for that, I'm sure they'll be grateful in the first dance already. Now, in terms of the perfectness of all of that and how the setup is going to look like, I'm sure that would be like...
Right. We're like, do we GoPro this? Do we...
I'll try myself first then, not pro necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have pros to look at, but who knows which content is going to have the better engagement? You never know, right? Could be better engagement than the other one, more pro one.
I know. Yeah. I think it's a cool concept that's basically taking all this stuff we're doing. We're having so many meetings and doing so much teaching on Zoom these days. Why not take that one step further and actually show people, hey, here's how you get the product out. Here's how you do a little bit of work with the paste. So I'm kind of been distance teaching a sugar in Portugal right now, and we're just doing it on Zoom. And it's not perfect, but we're learning. So
awesome. That basically shows that you're transiting all of these different, country spaces, and you're basically shortening the distance because you're making it feel closer when you can.
That's the hope.
For sure. And very last question, Steph, because obviously this basically paints the journey that you've been in the video space and the social space out of just trying it, isn't it? Something that feels probably complex at the beginning, but actually it doesn't seem to be that much, because it's more of a just being out there and sharing the authentic content that you've got, just having the content Yeah, probably to start with, and then it all comes as you go along, plus the passion on top of the ingredients, right? So it kind of makes it all up. But just probably the last question that I would share, if that's okay, is talking about the type of contents that you've tried so far. So you've talked about the the teaching part of it, the courses, Q&As would be a big part of all of that, which you've already praised. Is there anything else that you would as well praise quite a bit, as what you've seen has quite a big engagement?
Honestly, the things that have received the most engagement have been the kind of startup story style interviews. I've been on several for people on my team, and then we've just started doing those on social. And the number of people, and I have to say, I've done a terrible job of promoting that they're even going to happen. So sometimes I'm like, imagine if I let people know all week long we were going live. There's a concept, but
That's yet to come. You build your audience already, so that's
yeah. So the number of people coming onto those interviews by far has been the highest level of engagement. But I suspect I have done lives while demonstrating and done real technical stuff and allowed people to ask questions and demonstrate on the spot, but I've only just scratched the surface with that. I think because I'm not in the treatment room as much anymore, I've moved away from that, but I think as we start to reopen, and I've got my education team, we'll be doing a lot more of that. And I suspect that's where we're going to gain the most traction, because there is, in the world of sugaring, there is very little visual and video content out there, believe it or not, with the exception of Russia. I mean, if you go on Instagram, you can find sugaring from Russian sugar masters all over the place. But in the US and in the UK, like there isn't really that content. So I think if we dip our toe into that, we could probably grow quite a bit.
Which would make you an early bird advancer.
Yes. I'm always trying to be an early bird. The problem is there's just so much to do when you're small and beginning that it's so easy to get caught up in all the things. And that I think has been the biggest goal of 2020. And also the biggest lesson is, what can I move off of my plate so that I can focus on doing what I do best, which is teaching people, a broader audience, sharing the message and educating people about the product and showing them what it looks like to become a sugarista and what these successful businesses look like. That's where my heart's at, and that's what I enjoy the most. But, as you're growing a business, you're like, I just packed orders all day yesterday and did emails and invoices, so I think that's the goal for this year, hopefully, to move into that zone. For me, I'll be so much happier. Just talking sugar all day long.
But then that paves nicely the way for probably the next encounter that I'm hoping we would have in some time, when you will be taking a little bit of a look back and sharing, how you did prioritize all of those amazing, initiatives you have on your list. And then say, we do that, and that. And that has worked as well along the side. So would love to hear about that too at some point.
Absolutely.
Maybe even do it.
I can share. Yeah, let's live stream it. Hopefully I can share a teaching live stream success story. Awesome. I don't know if anybody's doing that yet. So maybe we can be first.
See, so that will make you a gap filler for sure, in an
right.
that fills those gaps. So that's one of the things that we as marketeers are being taught, always to find a gap first and then try to fill it.
Love it.
Steph, it's been such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you.
You so too. So good to see you.
Thank you, hon. Especially as a mother to a mother, making the time for today. Really appreciate it. Thank you, hon.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much, and take care, and I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch.
All right.
All the best to you,
okay.
hon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.